final 4-0. So they get there. That's interesting. Danny coming into play.
Let's go, Danny. Let's go, Danny.
Let's go, Danny.
It might be. I mean, this is possible, right? We've honestly seen Toronto mix up a lot of their rosters. Yeah. I'm going to trust our production that this is actually Coach Danny coming into play here. Maybe Lenny's just got his speed up for a little bit. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe Sugar Freeze is a bit busy. I know. I don't know what he could be busy with, but potentially has something else going on. We'll kind of make sure on that. But Danny would be interesting.
I think we've seen Danny play before on this team, no? I think we've seen him get subbed in.
I don't think I've personally seen Danny play.
Okay.
But I would love to see Danny play.
Anyway, I mean, we definitely should talk about the Shikigami roster, because again, I think like earlier on in the year, they look really good. Obviously, Sonjun and Taejong here at DPS. And obviously Onion, who we know she's been around for a long time and it was featured on some pretty top contenders rosters here. So this is definitely a team that, should get out of this group. They definitely have the quality. Yes. They had a pretty comfortable win in their previous game. So you want to keep your eyes on Shikigami, see what they can do.
That's what I was gonna say. Like even with a loss here, or keeping it close against Toronto, you still like this team to come out of the group. Still a lot of talent across the entire roster, even across the bench. So to see kind of what they could do here against Toronto, right? May not be at full strength. Where they have Danny in. We'll see how Toronto plays. But Shikigami an opportunity here potentially, and then also obviously I think looking pretty strong to make it out of groups in general.
And if you remember, Sonjun was spent a short time in the Seoul Dynasty. I don't know if they ever really got any play, but they were also on Talon Esports. So this is an individual that's been around for quite some time. And Taejong is like an 18-year-old DPS player out of South Korea. So yeah, I don't know too much about them, but again, we are seeing maybe Shikigami take a leaf out of some other teams' books and use those import slots to try and add some strength into the roster. So I'm curious to see what they got for us here.
Yeah, I'm also very curious. It's time to jump right into the match. Mitch and Matt, take it away.
Oh, just like that, Danny?
Yeah.
I mean, that was...
What a throw. Okay.
Something also I think we could probably talk about right here off the rip is like Clash and Flashpoint now kind of share a map pool, right? I think this is the right way to kind of handle this. If you kind of spread things out and added another game mode kind of selection, then it just becomes a little bit watered down, right? With two modes that only have two maps each, really, to kind of pick from. So really like the decision to have that in terms of a split. So we've already seen some Clash. Potentially we see it from some of the teams who maybe have like you would say underdogs per se, right? And maybe they're able to kind of pick it and change things up.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, if because obviously this is loser pick, bear in mind here. So it might be where a team looks to try and get an advantage, but again, it's very well, it can be over pretty quickly, but it is kind of hard to finish them out. We'll get on to Clash if it becomes an issue, but so far we are heading into Nepal instead. Sanctum going to be our first map here. Danny is in at DPS for the Toronto Defiant, so Sugar Free taking a bit of a breather here.
Not our
and
Danny.
Much like we saw in Face It. Okay, we're going to come back here just out again. We're going to brief pause, but just like we saw over in Face It Master, we are in a Juno's metagame here, so expect to see a lot of Juno. She's still very powerful. I don't think she's really been affected that much by recent balance changes, so still very strong.
No, still extremely strong. You mentioned how we kind of saw it like dominate Face It League, really the end in playoffs and EMEA specifically.
NA.
Yeah, NA was like, hey, at least give us a little bit of time before we start playing this. But now kind of obviously in across the board are really powerful in terms of the death ball, like the ultimate, which I think a lot of people were maybe a bit skeptical on early on, seems to be actually really strong in combination with a lot of these rush playstyles.
Yeah, same value proposition. I think that a lot of people got out of like Lucio Brigitte combinations, back when we saw them all brawly style teams, right? A lot of AoE healing and, the throughput in general for Juno is very, very high, but you tend not to notice it. A lot of her healing actually comes from the orbital rate. That is, when you see a Juno, like before ult, she, I'd say like a high percentage, like 30 sometimes % of her healing can come from that orbital rate, even more in those death ball compositions.
It is an Uber stat.
No,
30% of all Juno healing comes from orbital rate.
I've learned from I've learned from the master of these stats. Maven has taught me everything I need to know about delivering these key insights to our audience. But it is pretty filthy. We've seen a lot more, obviously, Orisa getting mixed in here with these compositions more recently, though.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? During like the Face It Masters, right? We saw a lot of different types of tanks, but mostly D.Va. It feels like, yeah, D.Va and Ramatra. And I think when D.Va got nerfed yet again, we probably all thought that it was going to go towards the favor of Ramatra, but it's actually been Orisa, probably the biggest winner so far, where both teams dropped the Lucia. You have the speed now with the Juno.
I mean, crucially alive, like the fortify movement speed penalty for Orisa got reduced, so she doesn't get slowed down nearly as much. And, you know, conversely, like D.Va gets her base health and armor reduced, so that just seems to put Orisa in a stronger spot. We know balance-wise that, you know, the dev team have been trying to move Orisa up a little bit more. She's been a little overlooked in the past here, but Toronto here trading the neutral pretty well. A lot of that pressure goes down onto Solo here. You know, as the Vega is doing pretty well in terms of that heal charge already.
Yeah, Taejong has a really difficult job, right, on the Pharah, because you have Merit on the hit scan at range, right? You see a Sonic Arrow there, just kind of scares Merit from coming around a corner, peeking on the Pharah, but still seems like trying to get in a position to use this Pharah well.
Now, Merit here under some degree of pressure. Sonjun going to be forced away, though, and yes, gets a little bit too close to the sun there. Taejong elsewhere, though, is able to bring Danny down. A little bit tough for the Mei to play against the Pharah, but don't always see that picked up on this map, and Merit, beautiful headshot. Claims Graveyard. Shikigami will be bundled off the point here.
Yeah, and I think you play the Mei on that bridge with the Orisa. It's really difficult to kind of dislodge those two characters, right? You're not necessarily even looking for Danny to go crazy. It's a nice shot by Sojin out of the spawn there. Danny go to crazy to making hero plays on the Mei. Really just good Mei walls, right? Splitting people off for someone and the rest of the team to finish them off. And that's all you really need.
Might need an early Suzu force there. I think Rupal was worried about Sonjun following up. Good damage across onto someone, though. They're getting a little bit low, but Terror Surge is now available. Rupal being pretty hard to catch, and a good contest as the Dragon Strike gets thrown through. That's going to split someone off from their backline, but Orbital Ray means Toronto can come forward. Anian going to throw one out of her own in response, but Taejong falls first. That damage amp on Orisa turns her into an absolute meat grinder. Okay, here's the Terror Surge from Solo. That's avoided for the most part. Danny can just ice block here, and our Solo doesn't have any armor to work with. Once you crack that armor, Orisa feels pretty squishy.
And then the Solo Terror Surge right there on the Onion, and you mentioned she had a really good use of the Orbital Ray. They were putting a lot of pressure on the Toronto Defiant, but Vega had his as well. And now the Kitsune Rush, you're probably going to see these both laid up on top of this bridge. Probably you're going to get the Bob inside of it, though. That could be pretty devastating here.
A lot of map control here for time being taken by Toronto. They probably don't want to give Taejong too much room, but Merit can really make the most of these longer sightlines that Taejong has to respect and play out of for the most part. Bob at the ready here.
Are they trying to bait them in? You see how kind of like they're playing on the bridge there, the Defiant? Like, playing and okay, that was a bomb just kind of thrown in there towards the end. I thought they were playing a little bit further back, right? Waiting for the rush to come up, and then RuPaul's playing on that high ground with Merit, would have like rushed back towards Merit, and then end up using their Bob. But this is going to be the Kitsune Rush used here for both teams.
RuPaul? Solo rush on the point, RuPaul. Okay, going 1v2 for a time, but still able to stay alive. The Blizzard there thrown down by Danny. Solo may have been affected by that. They were forced to play out towards the edge of the map. I'm not sure what the Kiriko ult usage there was from RuPaul, but hey, job done at the very least. Now, after Sonjun finds an early pick there on Merit.
Yeah, no, but now look at how fast Vega already with the Ray here on the Juno. So we'll see how they go about trying to potentially use this. Oh, they're going to go aggressive with it.
Dragon Strike here, though. This makes it hard for Toronto to benefit from the Orbital Ray at all, but after the fact, it's too far away from them. Solo's able to push back, and so Toronto let that Juno ultimate go for very little value when Solo's found Danny. Someone needs to heal up. They're gone for a health pack, but in the meantime, Sonjun's been able to find Rupal. Nice headshot connection. Vega has to trend back a little bit now. Pulsar torpedoes to hope to spread some healing. A little bit of damage on the Pharah would have been enough, but Taejong is healed up, and Graveyard can finish the job. Shikigami get to flip it back.
Like you said, try to get spread some healing. All I saw there was a battle.
The red diamonds.
Yeah. There was maybe a 2 seconds thought of healing there. The rest was all damage. As Merit will go over to Cassidy, so potentially realizing that this is going to be a little bit more close quarters. So Shikigami like pushing up towards those choke points. So not necessarily going to get great value from the Ashe from this type of position. And Cassidy obviously much harder to rush down.
Rubai here playing an off angle, just trying to control this flank route. Okay, here comes an orbital ray from Anion, so we're out of sync in terms of those Juno ultimates, and Shikigami have been able to turn that into a nice pick on the Mei. What does someone do from here? They're very low. Solo healthy enough with the Terror Surge, available to them. Shikigami with an ult advantage lead here. Can definitely exercise that into the next fight. Here's that Terror Surge. Merit doesn't have the mobility to quite get out of it. He goes low and Onion picks him off.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you're going to fight this again for Toronto, right? You get pushed all the way back into the spawn. It's going to be above 90% here for Shikigami. So he's going to have to, like, maybe switch to get a touch. It'll be Danny switching over to the Tracer trying to do so.
Merit on the Widowmaker here. Okay, trying to play out from spawn by the looks of things. But time is short. Danny got picked off by Sunjin. A headshot, no less. Terror Surge here for someone, probably for the extra durability. But Shikigami look like they're about to take this round away. Orbit Array for Vega doesn't get the job done. And how about them apples? Toronto lose Sanctum.
Yeah, they're doing a nice job. Shikigami putting a lot of pressure on the Toronto Defiant, and every time Toronto is able to get a foothold on the point, you were able to flip it pretty comfortably there for Shikigami. So playing that Pharah base setup, we'll see if they go with that yet again with the Pharah Hanzo. I think for Toronto, you probably stick with Danny on the Mei and then you keep going with Merit on the Cassidy here.
Yeah, it feels like it's definitely prone to get you a little bit more value on Village, and we have seen plenty of Pharah in the past, even on this map. Taejong? Okay, on the tour would be an interesting choice. Not a lot of flank pressure here from Toronto. Could be annoying for locks on to Vega, but yeah, hard to see that really having a great value proposition. Sim gets you out of spawn. Taejong on the Tracer.
You know, I mean, you would outplay the Torb here. I mean, there's no real threat for the Toronto Defiant to have any type of like flank pressure, and I think that's also something that potentially now you look at, and for Shikigami is like it's a little bit more predictable, right? What you're going to get from the Toronto Defiant here today is Sunjin goes high in the sky here, just trying to get a little bit of information where they actually went.
They're going for it. Vega doesn't have the mobility to avoid this, and Danny, a little slow on the uptake. Takes them a while before they realize Sunjin is there. And in and out, Sunjin gets with a free kill.
Yeah, I mean, there was no way you were going to be able to kind of keep Vega alive there. As RuPaul not playing the Kira, you're going to actually play the Brig here. So potentially a little bit of a slower composition here for the Defiant. The Kriko provides a little bit more offensive firepower than the Brig. The Brig, though, if you can get the fight on the point, right? That's what's really important.
It's miserable against the Pharah, though. That's the thing. Gonna be a lot of poke damage being taken here by Toronto as they try and approach. Sonja really peppering them. Already built a barrage, but won't need it in this fight. Stunning stuff from someone, finding a nice javelin onto Merit right at the beginning. Basically nullifying Toronto's DPS possibilities. They're switching to the Diva here.
Well, did you see how the Toronto Defiant kind of left the doorway? It was basically someone spear spinning, looking straight up towards the sky, trying to block some of the rockets, allowing Merit to kind of get through the doorway to put down some damage. And I mean, that just not going to be able to make it work that way. Is Toronto just holding up here for a second? That is unfortunate there for Merit. Solo barrage hiding in the corner and nothing going right for the Defiant.
Nice little air shot there as well, catching on the Vega. Shikigami looking the better team right now. Toronto in complete disarray, unsure about what composition they want to be on. Shikigami showing us a lot of flexibility. Sunjin and Taejong swapping between these heroes, getting a lot of Hanzo action in that first round. And now with this Tracer Pharah comp, they look pretty deadly. Sunjin more than happy to play a solo flanker at times. And Taejong, of course, is able to do that by default. Here comes Toronto, at least with an orbital ray to work with, but RuPaul's suffering from this Tracer pressure. Danny trying to control some of these flank sightlines, but Taejong just seems a little better. Danny eats a pulse bomb, baby. And here come the orbital rays. But Toronto are down to DPS. Merit can't hope to do too much from here. Toronto completely forced off the point. They're basically at risk of being entirely shut out here. Terror Surge thrown down. Here is that late orbital ray from Vega. It allows them to pick up Onion at the very least. Graveyard falling after the fact. It's Vega finding two, and Toronto get a foothold. At least at the death of things. It's 99, and they're trying to flip back, but this could be a problem. Merit's done so little this round, but Toronto at least get a flip.
Well, you still have two players alive here. Make it three, actually, here for Shikigami, so it actually might be a little bit of a stall here. But yeah, a few players die late, so it's going to be a pretty huge here for the Defiant as they need any easy percentages they can get. As the winning part there for the Defiant, you know, things you feel good about towards the end is that Graveyard ends up using the Kitsune Rush, so you know that there's no support ults on the table here for Shikigami. Toronto now has access to their Kitsune Rush. You win a fight here, you start to get over, you know, the 50% mark. You feel like it's potentially winnable then for the Defiant.
Sunjin on the Cassidy now. Merit's dead. I should control this space. This will stop Shikigami in their tracks for now. Oh dear. The javelin spin expires. Solo ultimately was exposed in that corner. Merit pushes out for a little bit more, and that should be enough for Toronto here to be able to ease in to stacking up this capture percentage.
And I mean, I said that they potentially had the Kitsune Rush to use there to get over 50%. They don't even need to use it, right? So really good here for the Toronto Defiant. You also get a nice build up towards that orbital array yet again. So another huge ultimate is Pulse Bomb doesn't go for anything, but there's Graveyard taking out Danny.
Yeah, sometimes those kunai just clap you as Tracer. Vega a little bit low there. Yeah, gonna be too easy for Sonjun to pick them up, and ultimately Shikigami able to get back into the game, and it's all a pick on Danny that starts things off. Kitsune Rush being deployed here. Merit has to go absolutely bonkers to keep his team in this game, and it's just too much to ask. Solo too durable. Rupal got slapped there. Sonjun with the taps, and there it is, folks. Map number 1 goes the way of Shikigami.
Yeah, I like how you said that with a question mark. But they get that kill on to Danny at the start, and then they get the D-Mac onto someone. Someone ends up kind of going with the self-destruct. They kill him before he gets back in mech, and they never really have a great opportunity to use that Kitsune Rush or the Orbital Array towards the end for the Defiant. And Shikigami flipped the point back with ease. They look strong in map number 1.
Yeah, I mean, look, and that DPS composition here for Shikigami, not just the hero picks, but also the individuals look very, very good. Sonjun and Taejun, very hard, for Merit, obviously, to have to deal with, without Sugar Free in today. Danny had a tough job, had to switch between the Mei going over towards the Tracer, and that's a lot to ask here. Toronto struggled, though, in general. I think on this Nepal game, that first round was pretty close, but the Hanzo play was pretty impressive. The Farah look, and you'll notice a lot of flexibility between these DPS from Shikigami. They might have a golden opportunity here to get out of this group in first place.
I mean, that's what I was going to just mention, actually, right? You go up 1-0 here. You have a possible advantage over Toronto here today. Hey, you take first place in the group, right? Give yourself potentially a little bit of an easier opponent as we move into the main event, the top 8. So that could be a decent amount of circuit points for these players, kind of like end the season on, where would also be a little bit of extra money, right? Just even winning that first round in the main event. Huge opportunity potentially for Shikigami.
You know who's coaching this team, by the way?
For Shikigami?
Yeah.
No, who?
It's Fletter. So Fletter comes into this team with Sonjun and Taejong, and all of a sudden Shikigami, I mean, this was like a week ago. They mean some serious business now. I would suggest, and I don't think this is taking too much creative license, that they've made a pretty big investment here in OWCS Stage 4, hoping to really make an impact.
They have like a 3-person coaching staff. I mean, they have a large roster in terms of players, coaches, making a lot of effort, obviously, here towards the end of the season. Everybody going 100%, trying to make it towards Stockholm. So throw all your eggs into this basket, right? As at least it paid off in map number 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we mentioned, there's so much more weighting of circuit points towards doing well here in Stage 3. So if you just looked at the past results of Shikigami, and by that I mean not within the last week, you probably wouldn't have been expecting too much. But this team looks like they're looking to position themselves as the real deal. And Toronto limping coming into today, obviously not with a full strength roster. We're put up against it very, very quickly. Now, it is loser pick. So Toronto do have a chance to try and craft a battlefield of their choosing, but I'm feeling Shikigami. They're looking real good.
I was like, how many times have we said Toronto get to pick a map in an NA group group stage? I don't know if I was trying to look up have they ever lost a map in groups?
Oh.
That might be their first map loss in groups. So 2-0 in stage 1. In stage 2, they also went 2-0. Stage 3. I'm gonna look it up, but I can tell you probably more of the same. 2-0. I mean, that's their first map loss in groups there for Toronto. So just how strong they've been at this moment of the tournament. We obviously seen them lose games in the main event and whatnot, and lose series. But in terms of group play, right? Just making out of groups, they've been absolutely perfect all season long up until now.
Yeah, and look, I mean, and let's not forget as well, as the Ultra making a really incredible run at EWC. This is a team who I think disappointed us in Dallas, right? I think that's maybe the one blemish on the record of Toronto Defiant, is that when we played that first OWCS major this year, they were pretty outclassed, and in general, North America seemed to struggle here. But again, this is just a day where not working a full strength roster. Shikigami, though, also look very, very good, which is probably what exacerbates this apparent difference between these teams' capacities. But I'm excited. We might have a proper series on our hands, because often, folks,
we definitely
we get into these winners games in our groups, they tend to be a little one-sided because, you know, we maybe have like 4 or 5 really solid teams in North America, and then there's a bit of a gap. Here, though, seems like we're working with something nice. And hey, Shikigami are hoping to make their way towards Stockholm with a great performance here in Stage 4. I hope you've got the same idea. You can obviously get your tickets today, dreamhack.com/Stockholm. The chance to meet the real Matt, Mr. X in the flesh.
It's gonna be a good time. Yeah, bring a magnifying glass. It's gonna be a good time. DreamHack, obviously, the ABBA Museum. Somebody's telling me I think there's like an old town there. You know, you can go check that out. So get your tickets. Come on down.
Yeah, the problem is an old town. Stockholm is a pretty old.
I mean, you can basically say that just about anywhere. Like, oh yeah, there's an old town. Like, you're kind of covered,
when you say
right?
old town about the United States or like Australia, it's like what, 200 years old? There are buildings in that are like twice the age of this whole country. So, you know, but yes, there probably is an old town in Stockholm, and it's probably pretty good. There's probably great, I don't know, Smorgastorta out there. If you like that stuff, I know Johnny's a big fan of it. Look it up, Matt. It's pretty intense. Anyway, Blizzard World selected
what is
by
that? Is that a fish?
Smorgastorta. Did I spell it right? Hold on, I'm looking it up.
It sounds like a tortoise.
No, it's a cake.
Oh, it's
Smorgastorta. Yeah, it's a cake.
I'm way off.
It's got shrimp on it though. Dude, it actually looks lit. I want to try it. That's one thing I'm gonna do in Stockholm is try this Smorgastorta or whatever it's called, because it's like bread and it's savory. It's savory cake. I don't know. Anyway, can we just talk about the game, Matt? Stop getting me so off topic, bro. That's so cringy.
You're the one who brought it up.
Bro,
I'm here talking about the game, and we got Danny playing Torb here on defense. So we're memeing the Torb, which obviously deserves to be memed on Paul potentially as an option. But here looks like Toronto on defense, playing a very defensive style of comp, right? With the Torb in the mix, you have the Ilari, right?
Very defensive.
Ash,
famously
right? So,
defensive hero, Iliari. Yeah.
well, I would say more of like a long distance poke comp, right? Like this comp is not going to be let's just get on top of Merit as someone as he dives in, right, and make plays to the back line. This is very much kind of like a counter dive type of style.
All right, here we go. Yeah, gonna be a little bit tough to get Pagong in position here. That Torb turret's gonna be a little annoying. Speaking of turrets, that healing pylon from Vega, those have already been cleared out, but it can be replaced soon enough. Get to 12-second cooldown, so won't be an issue. The dive comp, defensive dive from Toronto. It's such an interesting composition, honestly, with a very strong backline, but one that could be described as a little greedy. Still, that sleep dart's going to be pretty crucial. Sunjun here, outranged heavily by Merit. Still able to find a nice little dink, then duck around the corner. Solo, though, starting the cap here. Hindrance early for someone, but they're able to shrug it off here. Danny's turret, though, has been taken down, so now Taejong can really start to get a bit more aggressive. So far, they've just been doing janitorial duties, clearing all of the pets and deployables, but Sonja goes down early. Up to Taejong now and Solo to break through. Someone very, very low here, but a lot of healing throughput available with this composition, and it should be Toronto able to get back in.
And even if they lose the fight, I still like the way that Shikigami played that, because Toronto wants to hold that high ground in the back of the point, right? That's kind of like one of the ideal positions. Danny going for a hammer kill here. As that back of the point, the high ground is like really the point that you want to be holding there for Toronto. And Shikigami like rotates around, forces them off of the high ground, and for a fight just on that low ground over the point. And it doesn't obviously work out there for Shikigami. They end up getting 2 ticks, right? I know very close at third, but I like the idea there for Shikigami. I think that's the right way for them to attack this.
Yeah. Orbital Ray here for Anion. She able to find an elimination in the previous fight with those pulsar torpedoes, so definitely a force to be reckoned with. Nano boost though available here for someone in theory, or the dive target, whoever Taejong wants to go after. Captive Sun also could be impactful, considering that Shikigami's comp plays a little close together with the Cassidy and this Brig alongside the Orisa. You'll see Shikigami trying to wrap around here. Vega wants to try and punish the choke. In goes the Captive Sun. Interrupted, almost had that ultimate shut down, but he's still able to get that off, if I'm not mistaken. Here's the primal from someone, though. Rupal also holding on to a nano boost for later in the fight. It's going to be a rally pop by Graveyard here, and someone wants to punish this still. Force them away. Good amount of damage, but someone needs to be careful not to get caught here. Bayonade though went in the direction of Solo by the looks of things, and Sonjun terraces to a dynamite, but here comes Taejong. What a wombo combo. Combine that with the Terror Surge, and you've got one dead Toronto roster.
Orbital Ray, Terror Surge, and the Blade there all at one time for Shikigami, and that is one way to unlock the payload. They just kind of, it actually started to look pretty good for the Defiant right early on. You end up to get the rally out, someone pretty healthy as the Nano Boost has the Primal, and right there it all gets shut down.
This is now getting out of hand here, Toronto. Need to get their ducks in a row quickly. Sondren trying to punish this, and someone walked into the Deadeye. Just didn't have anywhere to go by the looks of things. Vega sheepishly now has to back right on out, and this is going to be Toronto conceding so much control of this second phase of the map. Taejong Ling is a little bit too late there. There will be a trade though. Merit will be felled. DPS for DPS with Solo out of the picture here. Shikigami will have to back up.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to get any more payload progress here, right? Everybody going to just funnel in and die, and this will allow Toronto to hold to serve a little bit here at the choke. Let's take a look at this replay though. This is from POV. It's just dashing on through.
Will it blend? Yes. Yes, it will. Okay. See the push up here defensively for Toronto. Lucky Vega looking to get some value, build up another captive sun. That turret though, of course, is being destroyed. It's going to force them to back up now, play around a more defensive healing pylon position once it comes off cooldown. And yeah, Danny constantly getting value. That turret, Taejong having to clear that pretty meticulously before they can dive in. Otherwise, it's just going to be damage that adds up to be too much to handle. It's a big ults here. Molten Core available for Danny. That's going to be a problem. And obviously, Nano Boost still in the hands of Rupal.
Yes, it looks like Shikigami just taking a little bit of time here to just figure out how they're going to potentially attack this. Maybe it's Orbital Ray plus the Terror Surge, right? You get the speed here. Is Solo going on in? There's going to be the Orbital Ray.
Nice Ray. And Mon Core, though, questionable. This gets dropped in a little pile there. Doesn't get spread too much. Danny gets taken down by Solo and Orbital Ray. That is serious business when an Orisa basically just gets to move up with it. Someone is trying to respond here, though, with a Primal Rage. Nano Boost already got expended in that fight. Someone really hopes for just a little bit more. And with the bio on Solo, there's an opportunity. The Terror Surge was in the hands of the Orisa, and someone opts to respect them. Catches Anion, though, with a right click as she drops down. The Rupal is still alive.
Yeah, that is a sick play there. You had to have Graveyard end up using the rally to keep themselves alive up on that high ground. As Solo getting dangerously low, not going to be able to use Terror Surge. Hit with the effects of the bio, so probably would have ended up dying anyway. As Rupal making some big plays.
Oh God, this is scrappy. This is extremely scrappy.
Yeah.
But Toronto have been able to establish themselves again. It came at quite a cost, but all their support ultimates got used at the start of that fight. They're already halfway built yet again. Someone soaking a lot of damage. And given that ult charge over to Vega and Rupar respectively, there's also a Bob online. But Shikigami have the wombo. Terror Surge, Dragon Blade available. Sonjun wants to open with the Deadeye.
I mean, I don't think we'd see the same type of thing again, right? I think that Toronto can play at a much further distance now than before. Is someone getting Onion very low? She's gonna have to back up, and oh, that's actually the blade that just gets sniped out of the sky.
I mean, someone right-clicked both Anion and Taejong in that fight. They go deep and they hear the Dragon Blade coming out, so someone just backs up here. Notices Shikigami a little low, not getting healed up quickly enough. The throughput just isn't there. And then they just go for two right clicks while keeping a respectful distance. That's huge. Shikigami get ground to a screeching halt. They've got one last chance now with just the Terror Surge to try and make some more progress here.
I think it's going to be very difficult to get good value out of this. Nano Captive Sun Primal going to be online here for the Defiant in the last fight.
Taejong notes the position of the Iliari. Needs to try and push the card up and probably contest, so can't be too aggressive in this fight. Has to recall pretty early as a result. Danny's turret has been removed here. The issue is Merritt's on the high ground looking pretty comfortable. You see the Javelin spin there from Solo to try and mitigate some of this Ash damage. But Merritt is still going to be a nuisance later on. Vega got picked off though with Captive Sun available, but Rupal can provide enough healing on their own to keep this ship afloat for now. There's a Primal. Hindrance here made it hard for someone to cross the gap to Sonjun, and that gives time to get the Cassidy healed back up for Shikigami. Rallies in play, also Orbital Ray. Someone has to respect this. Backs away with 600 HP and is waiting for the Orbital Ray to expire. Drops down now. It's going to be a Hyper Ring deployed by Shikigami for the extra mobility, but a great Captive Sun will take Solo low, and someone can hang. They had a Nano Boost for most of that fight. Sonjun trying for another cheeky Deadeye, and Danny has fallen here. Doesn't get anything off that Cassidy ultimate, but someone is very, very low, and the brawl composition seems to just grind Toronto down. Shikigami get the checkpoint.
Now Onion did a great job of keeping Graveyard alive. Graveyard was quite low, got hit with the Captive Sun. Onion was able to kind of heal up Graveyard while being inside, and then obviously having that extra brig healing on the point, right, when everybody has to fight over it. It's massive at that time. Taejong goes to a pulse bomb, doesn't connect with anything there. Just kind of use the top of your screen. The ultimate just kind of thrown out. So now we'll see the Oresis mirror matched up here. So someone will move away from that Winston.
Yeah, I think, look, Winston got a decent amount of value, especially as like a recipient of that nano boost, but RuPaul switches over to the Juno here, and Toronto want to go back to a bit more of this brawl style comp and play these corners, as opposed to try and start fights. So Solo, burning down, more dynamite hits from Merit means that he's built that Bob already. Okay, good split. Solo gets forced off to the side here, and the Molten Core comes out. That is going to force Shikigami to disperse entirely.
Yeah, it's just going to buy Toronto time. But Shikigami's going to be able to back up, get all this healing. And you're going to have that, orbital ray. But Danny actually finds something on the side.
My God,
right, Danny.
With the Swedish Torb skin as well. That is delectable.
Yeah, they're lucky they don't have our Danny. I mean, this series is probably over. It's Danny.
Oh, yeah, he would have rush shot over him. I mean, they'd let him tank instead of someone. They put someone on Ana or something like that. Another big dynamite connection. Merit still holding onto the Bob. A lot of heal pressure being felt right now by Shikigami, and they're trying to come forward. Torpedo's already getting deployed, and now it's going to be the orbital ray from Aniyun, but Toronto respected. RuPaul already built that Juno ultimate up, so they have a ray of their own. Solo just burned to a crisp. Terra Surge guarantees the elimination on Graveyard. They could not get out. And eventually Toronto put this nonsense to a stop. At least find themselves looking a little more comfortable on Blizzard World.
Yeah, what I'll be interested in, though, Mitch, is for Toronto on offense. Like, what kind of comp do they end up building out of this, right? Like, because Sugar Free, when he's in the lineup, is like Tracer, Genji, like those type of heroes, right? Pharah, right? So, but what do you play? Do you try and play Tracer here? Like, because how do you put pressure onto that backline, or Shikigami plays some hit scan in the back of the point?
I guess you could play like a brawl style. And try and work the Mei in, but obviously Sonjin being a pretty punishing hit scan player in general, it's probably not something you want to expose yourself to. I expect Ashe from Merit as per usual, and yeah, so okay, we might still see this dive composition. Obviously, like RuPaul can do a lot to keep someone topped up, and we know that Iliari, especially when you're attacking, like you can really stand around in these chokes and get a lot of free healing off that pylon, maybe force Shikigami to push up, try and take map control to clear that pylon out, because that's obviously where the healing throughput of Iliari can drop precipitously.
Yeah, and I think also it could be quite difficult here for Toronto to play without like speed on this. Like, do you want to play like a sim? Like, I don't know about that. Where I will see Shikigami on
shield with Winston.
Yeah.
No.
This is probably just a TP up to there, and then we'll probably play Tracer with this potentially.
Yep.
Do we see Danny play Genji? Danny got a little Genji in his hero pool. We'll see what decides to do. So they'll go with Torb yet again. Okay, so gonna play with that Torb yet again. Maybe see if you can kind of like bait Shikigami in, make it difficult for Taejong on the Genji.
Off to the races we are then. This, yeah, like you said, makes it pretty hard to flank the attackers. Merit though, gotta be careful. Poke down a little bit at range. Vega looks to set up though. Pretty powerful position to be here, Liziari. Yeah, whip shot there used to deny someone that early dive, and they're going to get run over. Shikigami have such a great comp. If the Winston ever gets caught out of position, they can run him over.
Yeah, it's also someone really you're relying on just RuPaul to keep someone alive. I know Vega, really, when someone's playing at range, not able to provide any type of healing there for the Winston.
Okay, that pylon position does get cleared. Shikigami wants to push up. They get that out of the way. Solo, they're a little low. Anion's going to get pretty close to her orbital ray off, healing that Orisa back up to full. And here we go again. This time, someone trying to avoid diving onto the brig, but Graveyard is in that prime real estate for Winston to dive. The back there. Sonja, though, gets caught. It's going to be Merit that actually just finds the shot here. Taejong waits for someone to dive elsewhere, and then beautiful shurikens on a Merit. He doesn't have enough time to respond to it, and there's no burst healing to really get him back in the game. Taejong going to be knocked aside there by that outburst and hit by the Captive Sun, and there's no way to avoid this proccing, really, unless he dashes away from the Winston. Another pylon thrown up. Taejong trying to threaten Vega here, but it's a lot of healing to try and cut through, and Vega's always down. to brawl.
They almost kept him alive. I mean, that was pretty incredible. But you see where Onion and some of the other supports kind of push all the way out as Graveyard ends up falling. So it's a bit messy here. Toronto still does not really have control of this yet because Onion's still alive. Same with Solo. You're going to have everybody else for Shikigami coming back off a spawn. Solo gets quite low. All the armor gone. You're going to have to back up. Probably give up a tick here at minimum.
Yeah, with the Primal Rage here as well for someone. But you could cycle into a Nano. The Blade though is concerned. You need to Nano maybe the Blade target here on Toronto to make sure you get a full cap. Someone's a little off position right now. It looked like they went to try and chase Onion or someone similar down. Danny though here doing the deeps. Danny in trouble. Taejong forced into a deflect though as Bob is on the point and it catches Sonjun out. Taejong has got nothing to do with this Blade. Nothing to do at all in this fight, in fact.
I mean, it's been really hard for them. Outside of the one kind of clip that we obviously had in the offensive round, it's been really hard to get value out of the Genji, right? With what the Toronto Defiant are currently playing. So they'll unlock that payload. Now started getting moving through the second phase of the map here, but feels like potentially if you end up using this Blade, a switch here for Shikigami.
Maybe. Someone here. Okay, trying to look at, I think, the lineup of Shikigami, because again, diving into Orisa is always a death sentence. Someone trying to avoid it for the most part, but now might be forced to peel. Terror Surge almost put everybody in the line of sight of Deadeye, and Danny just can't get away. Not enough mobility to avoid that. A reset on Toronto now as Danny held the Molten Core, which is pretty threatening to Solo, to be fair. Shikigami having a ground-born front line. Does want to avoid that 12 bolt if possible. Quickly, just to answer chat. Danny is a coaching staff from Toronto Defiant. Not Danny Lim. Obviously, he's not eligible to play, guys.
Danny Lim hosting the show and then just throwing to us so he can play would be epic.
Yeah, no. Taejong here with the Blade. Very low Shikigami right now, and it's a Captive Sun here for the Defiant. Great orbital ray timing for Shikigami, but a bio catching onto Solo could have been threatening. They're able to withstand it and bring Danny down. Toronto here, having to find some other edges in the fight. It's going to be Taejong that they bring down. They should still be able to advance now, especially with Solo fairly well caught out, but they turn that into a kill on Merit. The healing is so good from Graveyard that someone has to get out too.
Yeah, I mean, the Brig is so strong and sturdy in that type of situation. Solo with a long-range spear to the dome of someone as Taejong, like I mentioned, right? You give use out of that Blade, and then they feel like they need to make a change off of that. Genji wasn't really providing a lot. I think someone was able to just jump on top of him a few times with the rest of the Defiant and take him out. And he'll move over to Tracer. I think there's a better pick for Shikigami here to potentially close it out.
Danny, though, has the most molten of cores. Still waiting for a chance to let that one rip in this fight. This could be an opportunity here as the Shikigami team move into the small room, but instead they take an opportunity to overwhelm Merit, making it hard for the Ash to get away with that mag grenade connecting. Taejong here dancing, able to find Rupal, and Toronto is starting to run out of steam here. Shikigami getting very comfortably playing inside this choke and coming into a fight with a rally and another Terror Surge available. That's definitely going to be concerning.
Yes, Shikigami's put together a really nice hold here. Once that payload got unlocked, it has been all Shikigami. I mean, how do you get use of even a Molten Core here? I mean, it's got to be incredibly defensive as they're just trying to bully someone all the way back in. Look at how split they have the Defiant.
Extremely. Yeah, I mean, I think Danny had to peel away from that Deadeye in general. Vega also had to avoid it. Outburst weren't going to save you there. Sonjun, great aim correction to catch the Iliari in midair. Onion, though, brought low. Graveyard can't keep the rally in play to get split off from the rest of Shikigami. Toronto spend fairly big with a Nano and a Bob in that fight, but Merit was switching to Cassidy anyway, and it looks like now they're on the road again.
Yeah, but now they're below a minute, right? You have to use all those ultimates below a minute now on the clock. Shikigami able to hold on to the Terror Surge here and Pulse Bomb, so they're going to have an idea that obviously Daedring is behind them with the Torb turret going down. How do they deal with this flanker, though? You see both supports there up on the high ground, playing alongside Merit. Pulse Bomb here for Shikigami would be massive, right? But you're gonna have the orbital ray to fight this too, so you're not at a loss for ultimates here.
Vega really tried to stake their claim to the high ground there, but Shikigami moved in numbers. Now occupying the middle part of the map. Captive Sun there, broken up though by Solo's Javelin Spin. Rare interaction to see. Primal Rage against Cassie would be very powerful, but somehow Sonja was able to slip away. Someone a little low. They probably didn't feel confident in committing. Danny! Oh, Danny almost got the back cap! Oh, you love to see it. The Molten Core to try and pave the way. But Sonja's going to be there. Healed up by Annie on the high ground. It's going to be someone pretty lonely right now. And RuPaul can't get line of sight on the Winston. It's all falling apart for Toronto. And Shikigami hold them at bay, taking their second map in the series.
Yeah, feels like maybe Toronto a little bit limited in terms of what they can play or feel comfortable to playing at the moment, but Shikigami makes some nice changes towards the end. Nice Juno play from Anion, and that's a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, that is huge to go ahead so early in this series, and that was obviously the map pick of the Toronto Defiant. They do play a very... It's an interesting comp, right? Because Shikigami are always playing a flanker, so there could be merit in playing the Torb here. However, tough to get value out of Molten Core. Torbjorn in general, not the most powerful hero right now, you know, in the face of some of the other options that you have at DPS, whether it could be Ashe or even Tracer. We've seen Fire picked up here. No flank pressure from Toronto does mean that there's limited pressure here on Onion Graveyard, for example, and Taejong doesn't have anyone that's watching those sightlines outside of those turrets. So once they're down, it's on for young and old.
I mean, all that pressure falls down to someone being able to go in and make a play. I mean, this is a sick Terror Surge Blade combo towards the start of the offensive push there for Shikigami. It really comes down to someone, though, on Toronto making plays to the backline. I mean, you see right here, able to do it a lot of the time, but if he's not able to get pressure on that backline, you know, Graveyard and Onion able to live for just about forever.
Yeah, I mean, you can just see what this orbital rate does for you, right? Someone gets nanoed here in this fight. We do see a bit of a layering of the support ultimates here, which is obviously a bit concerning, but someone goes low and, you know, again, you have the Captive Sum that doesn't really get you the value you're looking for there from Vega. They're using a pylon that doesn't heal you while you're contesting the cart, so, you know, it allows them to play off of it, but that does mean that Vega needs to be, you know, healing someone there. It's sort of hard to pull it off. So nice moments here from Danny, obviously, you know, by design, trying to control Taejong specifically, make it very, very hard for that, you know, Genji or Tracer to wrap around and flank here. This was the escape of the century almost for Taejong here. Vega ends up winning this fight at some point, but yeah, nicely done. The DPS of Shikigami looks so good.
If you're Toronto, right, and Danny's in here today as he's a coach analyst for the team. Do you want to say, hey, come in, play Tracer and go one-on-one against the otother team's Tracer? Like, probably not. Like,
I guess like 18-year-old South Korean just cracked game. No.
Give him a character that can like live a little bit longer, right? Just to maybe help protect the supports a little bit with the turret, right? Make it a little bit more interesting. I think it's the right call for them. You're also not going to be like, hey, Merritt, play Tracer so Danny can play, you know, Cassidy, right? I mean, you're not going to do that. So this is the right move. And that is, look at that. I mean, a lot of the stats heavily favoring the Defiant here.
I'm telling you, bro, this is orbital ray healing. It is.
Well, you're also playing like the Ana with the Alari backline, right? So the Alari, you're gonna have just like a lower healing output as well in terms of that, which you're gonna have more damage dealt benefit.
Mostly single target healing, right?
As well. Yeah.
Again, that's why we call it a little greedy. It's a little bit aggressive to play that style. It also makes you susceptible to dive. That's obviously a problem for the Iari going up against Tracer or Genji, as it was. So we're going into a break here, folks, with Shikigami threatening already a match point against Toronto Defiant to look to exit the group with a squeaky clean 2-0. See if that's going to be the case. Lose a pick after the break.
Flight. We're wondering why you haven't fired primary boosters yet. All systems appear optimal.
I just need a minute. It is so hard to say goodbye to the only home I've ever known.
I understand, but the colony isn't safe anymore, and our window of opportunity is closing. So let's get you on your way to your new home.
Next stop, Earth. Initiating boosters in 3, 2, 1. Control?
Our sensors indicate an external issue.
External?
Follow protocols and you'll be fine, but you have to hurry.
Careful. I'm going to find a way to save you. All of you. I think I see the problem.
Copy that.
Okay. No.
Don't panic. You're okay.
I am definitely not okay. Why did I think I could do this?
Juno, I believe in you. You've trained for this kind of thing your whole life. You have all the tools you need.
Okay. All right. I have all the tools I need. Control. Problem solved.
Hear that? We're all so proud of you. I want you to live a long, happy life on Earth, sweetheart. Always remember, I love you.
I love you too, Mom. Okay, Earth. Here I come.
Attention, unknown craft. Halt your approach and identify yourself.
It is too late to halt. I'm coming in very hot. Who is this?
This is Overwatch. I am tracking your trajectory and will have someone meet you. For my records, where did you come from?
I am from Mars, and my name is Juno.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us here. Of course, we're in our first series of our NA groups while we're broadcasting. This is our winners match. So Toronto Defiant and Shikigami looking to find their early exit from groups in first place. It's been an interesting start to the series, though. Toronto Defiant not quite with the full roster, at least to start with. Danny comes in at DPS, and they struggle against a Shikigami that recently got pretty serious about looking for those dubs.
Yeah, as no, they've tried to make it work with Danny in the lineup here today for the Defiant instead of Sugar Free. And like you mentioned, they've had a tough time doing that, and Shikigami has taken full advantage of that, right? Going up 2-0 in the series. Opportunity to close it out. Toronto gets another map pick here. Even if Toronto was win this, Shikigami's got the map pick all the way throughout the rest of the series, right? So they're definitely in the driver's seat.
We've seen like you know, pretty much a straight up Orisa composition here from Shikigami, right? They're making great use of the Brig and Juno composition with the Brawl setup that Orisa provides you. Toronto showing us like Ana, Iliari, Winston dive with like Ash or Cassidy, and then it's been the Torbjorn mixed in there. So it's a curious composition, one that probably lends itself a little bit more to what, you know, Danny's hero pool is. We saw Mei from them earlier on. We saw Tracer at times on the Paul Village. It's a big ask. Taejong looks like a very, very capable flanking DPS player. On Tracer, they look pretty dynamic. So that's a big ask, I think, to bring in one of your coaching staff to try and give you that level of impact against this, like 18-year-old South Korean little prodigy.
I just realized Hugo's on the stairs behind me. I was like,
oh yeah, he's out.
I'm doing a good job watching him while everybody's out. I currently just was shocked that he was directly behind me. But no, yeah, I mean, it has been difficult for Toronto to deal with, right? And especially when you have Taejong, whether it be the Genji or the Tracer on the flanks constantly, putting pressure on the backline, putting pressure on Merit, not having that like Tracer to be able to duel or whatnot, it becomes very difficult.
Yeah, and Torbjorn seems fine, seems quite serviceable here. Tough to get value out of the Molten Core when there's so much mobility, especially being offered by like Orbital Ray. Also, there's the sheer amount of healing that it put out. We saw Shikigami end the map having less DPS, or less damage done overall than Toronto, but like an extra 20,000 healing, which again is a function of the very different backlines that we saw. It was Iliari Ana versus, you know, Brig and Juno. Juno's throughput is pretty astronomical, especially when there's like 3 to 5 players stacking up inside that orbital array. It's very hard to out damage the healing of players inside that field. It is very, very powerful. So, my understanding is that Toronto had asked for a little bit of time to see if they could get their full roster in. So that's what they've been working with. We'll see if that was successful for them or not. But here's your map pool, of course, of what we have remaining. We've already seen.
Where do you think they go?
We might end up seeing, again, think Winston maps here. So you can like try and play dive maybe on Gibraltar. I mean, our map pool is drastically different now in stage 4. So Rialto and Gibraltar are back in the pool. Esperança, obviously a decent Winston map quite often, back in the pool here. Midtown has also been reintroduced. And of course, Hanaoka and Threat of Anubis, our clash maps are also available. So plenty of options here, but like you mentioned, Matt, this is Toronto Defiant's last map pick of the series.
Yeah, and I mean, do you play like Gibraltar? It's great for like Winston-based compositions, right? If you want to play like Winston with an Ana, right? Gibraltar, probably like one of the go-to maps for that. So we'll see. It's a rare opportunity that Toronto gets to pick this many maps, right? In a series, especially in like a group play. Like how I mentioned before, these are the only maps they've lost in groups throughout all of the stages.
You mentioned, that they had never lost a map, in groups up until this point. Sorry about this, folks. We're going to have to tease you a little bit. So we're still giving Toronto a little bit of extra time. So we're going to go to a break once they can sort out some of their, staffing personnel issues. We'll put it that way. We hope to be jumping back into this series as soon as possible. Toronto Defiant have to reverse sweep here, so get comfortable. Hopefully we'll be back after what we can only hope is a short break, but I can't guarantee anything because I'm not an oracle. I'm not a wizard like Johnny. All right, we're going to get a break. See you in a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, gang, you stuck with us, and the Toronto Defiant have delivered. Lenny time is back on. That's right. Sugar Free comes in here for this third map of the series, in which Toronto Defiant find themselves already on match point. So it had to be reverse sweep from here on out, but hey, now they've got the tools. Time to get the job done.
Yeah, we'll see if they can kind of mount this comeback. Obviously, now at full strength with Sugar Free in the mix. We'll see. No, Shikigami, right? You just gotta take one map. Right, yeah, I mean, if you
just one map, bro, please.
If you would have lost the map earlier, it wouldn't have been that good. But now you're 2-0. Yeah, with 1 out of 3. Pretty good odds here for Shikigami. Watchpoint Gibraltar, though, will be the map selection. This should be pretty good for like Winston-based compositions. If that's what the Defiant want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Conversely, not a great map for those brawl-style setups. There's so much high ground here, so much space to work with, a lot of room to make sure that your Winston can be kept nice and healthy. And yeah, this has been the kind of map that has forced teams that prefer not to play Winston to just do it. To just pick the Winston, try and play some longer range hit scan here. We might see the Widow from Sonja, but Toronto still fancy Merit, obviously, on that Ashe, offering a bit of utility, spread of that damage around. Bob is pretty important against these Winston comps as well, because their shielding and abilities to shut down the Bob is pretty limited outside of Sleep Dart or just hitting the guy. And we'll see what Shikigami go for. A TP up to the high ground might be the play.
Yeah, potentially get some of these players up on the high ground, access that a little bit earlier, and then maybe make a play deeper for Marriott. But as we kick things off here, it'll be a Sunjun on the Widow. Nice bubble there from someone, gonna prevent any type of damage coming through there, and you'll see them commit to this Widow for at least a little bit.
Okay, so yeah, pretty passive setup early here from Sunjun. They're still trying to scout out what the DPS lineup is. Now realizing that Ashe is there, might see if Sunjun starts to look for a little bit more space, and yeah, they do. Still have to be a little bit careful. Couple of shots though from the Ashe, especially if they're dinks, will neutralize you as Widow. This would force Toronto out of that line of sight, but someone, it's not the kind of player that you want to, play a susceptible dive hero against.
Well, you have Sugar Free there as well, right? But there was zero help there for Sunjun, so he's like around the corner. Yeah, maybe the Brig on the high ground, but you're not gonna drop down there, give up that high ground position, go low there to try and help that Widow stay alive, which most likely the Widow would have died anyway. So you give up the Widow's life there early on. Now Shikigami will try and take high ground yet again.
Yeah, Taejong all of a sudden has their hands pretty full. Sugar Free, looking to take this Tracer duel at length here, is definitely putting pressure down.
Well, this is what we were talking about. They didn't have, right? They go head to head in terms of the Tracer, right? Have a flanker kind of mirror or match the flanker on the other side. Now with Sugar Free in for Danny. Danny trying his heart out on the tour, but it's just not the same.
Big buyer there though, that catches on to Solo, but Sunjun is able to punish Vega. Someone got the nano boost though, so should be able to chase this one in and get the kill on the Brig. Yep, that one a bit of a freebie. Someone now can head back to the high ground and hopes not to have to use Primal, but because Solo was up there first, he might need to match this energy, match this freak, if you will. And Solo's eventually going to get nothing for their Primal.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what he was thinking. I need to match this freak right now and pop my Primal. so no, I believe he was just in a very terrible spot. I would have probably ended up dying there. So someone was deep in the enemy spawn. Is still on the Widow, probably gonna just use the infrasight, but then I expect to make a change. Woo, that's a nice shot. I was gonna say, I really haven't found much, but a nice shot there, close range on a RuPaul.
Trade of Arnis here. Toronto obviously suffering just because of the spawn disadvantage they have. A long walk back to the fight for RuPaul. They did not expect Sunjun to appear from there, and a couple classy little Widow shots linked up. Means that Shikigami now have themselves a straight staging ground. They can play from this high ground, get the cart up through this underpass, then start to threaten the first checkpoint.
Yeah, it would have been nice of the Primal there. Ooh, nice sleep here from Onion is maybe get some help here. Finish off Sugar Free, and you do.
All right, nice little pop off there.
Oh, you lost your tank though.
That's a problem. No Solo. Onion here at least able to keep the rest of Shikigami topped up, but this attack starts to get staggered out a bit. Now you're allowing Toronto here. Look at how they take space immediately with that player advantage. Up over the high ground, looking to set up a bit of a pincer here. This is dangerous for Shikigami now. It's going to get a little bit hectic inside the server room. Here's Bob, and they get absolutely flattened. Merritt hits a big dynamite off the rip, and that basically paves the way to an easy fight win.
Yeah, and it's almost a little bit of like worst case scenario there because Shikigami loses Solo at the beginning of the previous fight, and then Toronto slowly just kind of captures them, moves them into the server room, and then by the time Solo gets back, the rest of the team is gone. So now you're even waiting even longer, right? You're gonna wait for Solo to get back, then you're gonna now we're having him wait for the rest of the team to come back. It's a lot of time now has been bled off the clock.
Yeah, 27 seconds left in the round. This might be a pretty quick map if things keep going at this rate. Sugar Free with a pulse here, double bio connection from Anion, but no ability to follow up on it whatsoever. And there is someone, well, standing on business, taking that high ground now for Shikigami. Give them really nowhere to work from here, and a lot of pressure on their backline. Graveyard and Anion very, very low. Sugar Free able to deal with Solo, who wouldn't have got healing anyway, considering there's someone tied up the entire backline on their own. And I like the idea there from Vega, trying to subject Taejong to their own pulse bomb, but doesn't quite get close enough to the Tracer. Sugar Free, though, wins it out. Here's Toronto now looking to stop this in its tracks. Solo will be returning to the fight, at least with a Primal Rage just around the corner. And a Lucio switch for a Graveyard to get him there in time. Looks good, but it's an easy pick off for Sugar Free, especially after Lucio had that maximum health reduction a couple patches ago. A little bit easier to stop them from stalling. And Shikigami, well, the railroad ends here.
Yeah, it doesn't go far there for Shikigami. So I would also say for them, this isn't exactly a type of like map style in terms of comp they would really want to play, right? This is kind of like Toronto. I mean, Toronto can really play just about anything, but having someone play the Winston and Sugarfree played the Tracer long range hit scan. I mean, this map works out perfectly for them, right? So we'll see if Toronto can obviously match the payload push here of Shikigami. That would then throw all the pressure back on Shikigami, which is quite interesting, Mitch, right? Because we have what, push, Flashpoint, or Clash they could go to, right? We have a little bit of a different kind of situation here than in the past. They have the 2 maps to pick, right? And both like their kind of game mode.
If they want to save us some time after we had that long pause to get Sugar-Free back in the server, maybe they're running over to push, get a nice completion, or head us over to Clash and see if they can sort of blow that game out. But this has definitely been a bit of a blowout so far. Shikigami again come out with a Widowmaker composition. And there are some decent picks. Sonjin is able to find a couple, but they are too few and far between. And someone has played from this position so many times. It's literally muscle memory for him at this point. Merit, of course, deadly on the hit scan, no matter what hero it is. And now Sugarfree shows us why he's one of the most hyped tracers in this region. Oh, a little flourish.
Yeah, Toronto could play this on total cruise control, right? In terms of the map selection, we'll see Merit here on the Widow. No bubble up on the top. It's not going to be a jump shot right off the rip. They're actually going to move him around the side here, see if he can find an angle from this way up on the high ground.
It's the same position that Sonjin took up, who is on Cassidy, by the way. So they are definitely priced into grouping and playing in cover as much as possible. There's not a lot they can do to the Widow. Shikigami are hoping they can get solo over in Merit's direction.
I don't think the Cassie's really gonna stop someone though, right? I mean, he's still going to get aggressive. Like, it doesn't really matter. He feels like probably, with RuPaul as like the pocket, that he's in great hands always.
Good patience there from Merit. Just waits for Sonjin to show. Again, I guess Merit really just not trying to spam shots, doesn't want to just give away their location constantly. Allow Solo to keep sort of passive tabs on them. Every time Solo turns up, it's a headshot. A huge chunk of that Winston health goes away.
Yeah, Bio on a Solo as well. Gonna force him to back on up.
And Merit knows he's expecting there to be pressure from Sonjin up the staircase, pings it out, and straight away Vega turns his attention over there. Not a damn thing Sonjin could have done about that. Recall for Sugarfree, back to a safer position. Solo needs to try and get the Mega in the server room, presumably. Bionade, though, connecting on a graveyard. Merit also eats at 3 players on Toronto affected by that, and I guess we'll just move on to the next map. That's fine. We're
just not interested in that one anymore. Let's just move on. That's kind of what Shikigami was thinking about. They're like, you know what?
Okay.
I just don't really like this Winston stuff. Let's go back to Orisa Juno. Let's just let him cruise it on home.
Again, I mean, really hard to contest from that position when your tank is under so much pressure. I think getting your Brig getting hit with a Bionade, that's obviously someone that can step up, contest, and your Tracer is very busy dealing with Sugarfree, and they will be over the entire series. So you might have sat in chat and heard that Sugarfree was coming in, started to think about a reverse sweep. I think that's valid. I think it's definitely on the cards here because we've seen Toronto. It's crazy in 5v5 especially how much difference one player can make.
Well, especially a player who plays like all your, flanking damage dealers, right? Still playing whether it be like Genji, Tracer, Echo, Pharah, like losing, Sugarfree plays really good Mei, right? We saw that come into play in map number 1. So to lose that player becomes pretty difficult to kind of overcome that. Where now with Sugarfree back in, you see them at full strength.
Yeah, and they look very, very good. It's Sugarfree that's able to capitalize on the poke damage that gets put down by Merit and basically ensure that hit scan damage gets converted into eliminations more often than not.
Right.
It was a quick map. Let's look back over it though while we can here. Obviously we saw Bionade be pretty impactful, important part of the game, but that one from RuPaul there really makes an easy kill on Solo, who has Primal, is never going to use it in a case like this. Look at this vertical shot, by the way.
Yeah, this is pretty sick.
Really nicely.
Right when we were talking about like, maybe they need to kind of move away, and no, just move away from the Widow, and there was that really nice shot. This is kind of when they pushed him into the server room. It was really difficult for Shikigami to make it out of there. Ended up just kind of burning a ton of time at that moment. And right here, I mean, no way the supports are living through someone.
No. I mean, that was great. We basically just got to watch the whole map from the start there. That's essentially all you need to know. But crucially, on the attacking side, as soon as Shikigami lose a player, get picked off, we see Toronto move in and take a bunch of space and then stagger out the other 4 of them. So you make one slip up, one mistake against this Toronto Defiant team, you're going to get heavily punished for it. You can see here, like the death count. Obviously, it's Toronto who are able to make a full hold on defense. That is always going to skew your stats, but they also were dominant in this map. So It is 1-2, as you can see there at the top. Toronto fighting back, avoiding getting swept away, and they're going to do it the reverse sweep way now, but they are a team of the level of quality that I feel pretty confident that's on the table.
So 3 modes to pick from, 2 maps obviously they would pick if they don't win this next one. Do you think we see Shikigami entertain Clash? Do we see them go to something else? Lampet will come in here for Taejung, so it tells you potentially a little bit of a different kind of comp we're looking at.
Yeah, Lampet obviously also one of the more recent additions to the Shikigami team. I think they're on Pirates in Pajamas, I remember them, and a couple of other of these sort of these teams trying to compete in OWCS, or at least through Faceit. Again, I think we should expect to see like your like Echo Genji looks potentially from Lampet here. Giving Shikigami some options. So obviously that will be sort of telegraphing our map choice of New Junk City that'll be picked by Shikigami.
So this is obviously really good for a Riso like rush style composition, so you can continue to play this for Shikigami, which is when they've looked the best throughout this series thus far. But it's a completely different Toronto Defiant in the game now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Than what we saw in the first 2 maps. So Sugar Free, if they come back and reverse sweep, will have the opportunity to remind his teammates that he went undefeated throughout the OWCS groups, not them.
Yeah, he's the only one.
Whenever they talk about those map losses, he'll be like, don't know what you guys talk about.
Doesn't look like anything to me. And we're looking at
Danny, the coach, will be saying that Danny Lim was the one playing. He wasn't blamed either. He's like, oh, that was me.
Dan Lim's going to be saying, yeah, that was me. Yeah, exactly. Taking credit for it.
Danny Lim has no problem taking credit for it.
All right, Arisa comms here. If we see the Lucio alongside the Juno, obviously that gives the Defiant an edge in some cases, gives them obviously pretty powerful sound barrier. That's a good answer if they have to face Genji, but no, it'll just be the Brig Juno comps for both these sides. The Mei here for Sugar Free, who we've seen be so powerful in these comps on these kind of maps here. That could be a big difference maker.
Yeah, it's just a Lucio to get a little bit of extra speed out the start in the spawn, and you see Toronto able to kind of push up quite aggressively here. And they're going to be able to battle quite long in the neutral, right, with the Brig in the Mei as they get quite aggressive and they actually catch Graveyard out.
Yeah, again, that little burst of speed from Hyper-Ring is something Shikigami are not ready for. Someone's first Javelin caught Sonjin, took them low, and the second one finished off the job. Very one-sided first fight here, Toronto Defiant. Don't lose a player, build some key ultimates as well. Shikigami actually switching off the Brig entirely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, what's your thoughts on that? I feel like the Brig works really well with the Juno, especially when you have the orbital ray, being able to have the Brig inside of that, providing so much extra healing, even if you had a rally, right? I don't know.
I'm
the
not
Kitsune
sure.
Rush is quite good. The Kitsune Rush is pretty good for like the Genji and even the Arisa, right? But feels like the Brig is a safer option.
More often than not, definitely good, especially when it comes to fighting in those front lines. Graveyard gets picked off early. That's Sugar Free with a right click. Oh boy, Homie be back with a vengeance. Sonjin here, able to hit that hindrance onto the Juno, but Vega is not giving him an inch. Someone now pushes up, and yep, this is going to be a first Flashpoint, pretty easily taken by Toronto.
We're just talking about the gameplay, right? But thinking about just the morale amongst these teams probably at the moment, like the high of Shikigami going up 2-0 and then being told Sugar Free's coming back and then having like what happened at Gibraltar happen, and then for Toronto looking like the day was going to be a little bit of a wash, and then now all of a sudden like we are clicking on all cylinders yet again.
All right, we have our orbital rays being matched here as Lampent at least is able to wrap around and touch. And that'll be Graveyard also with that extra mobility looking to help out there. So, in the meantime, Shikigami, the rest of them will be folded into pretzels and distributed amongst the waiting onlookers. And the last couple Shikigami players will have to vacate the points. I think this
is the downside of being on the 0 side of the 0 to 99, right? Players have to play for the point. You put 2 players there on the point. Toronto says, hey, we have more players over here. We just run them down, then double back for the point. There's no real threat there from Shikigami, and that'll be the Defiant taking the first point.
Yep. The only way Shikigami realistically were able to contest that for a time, but it was pretty underwhelming in the end. So, over towards Junkyard here. Obviously plenty of high ground to play from, and the Defiant already take that course way up, looking to set up a pick with that Mei wall. God, I think the Mei in this composition makes it just so filthy against the Genji. And there will be a rally available to try and stop this Dragon Blade, but it's a Deadeye from Merit first. A lot of space to be made here in a Kitsune Rush. used into this. Okay, Terror Surge helped Merritt out there. Just lifted him up so he could pick Graveyard off. That is disastrous.
Yeah, the Terror Surge actually kind of puts him, because I think Graveyard, I'd love to see a replay of that, but I think Graveyard is like kind of almost like behind the car down that way, and the Terror Surge, when you yoink people in, it kind of like goes upward, up and then down, and the up movement just lines up with the Deadeye, and just snipes Graveyard. Quite unfortunate there for Shikigami.
That's beyond brutal, man.
I mean, this is...
Here's a blade. Rally was used by RuPaul already, Matt, but... Yeah, RuPaul able to hold Lambert at bay for a time. Lambert only gets the one with the blade, though. Probably open for a little bit more. Merritt eventually able to pick them out of the sky, and Sonjun gets flattened by the Terror Surge. Oh, buddy. Toronto Defiant back with a vengeance, and Shikigami right now have none of the answers.
We'll take a look at an instant replay. So this is going to be the Deadeye, right? So the Deadeye used here. Graveyard is going to be the right, because that's where the Kitsune Rush comes from. So you see that car right there. It's going to yoink him up. Oh, it's like the frame right around the side of the car.
Merritt was already looking at Graveyard there. I don't know if that surge actually gives him the line. He just fires the shot off before he fully gets pulled out of the way. Anyway, here's an orbital raid. Shikigami, not exactly basking that one, folks. It's not exactly a tanning opportunity. Well, the only thing that's getting tanned is their hides. Trying to find here. Didn't allow the point to get flipped briefly. Shikigami bringing Lambert in on the Venture. But all they can really do is get a flip and try and offer some token resistance.
If you were going to play the Venture, doesn't it make sense to also play, like, if you're going to play Venture, right, I think you play the Kiri.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you would have played the Kiri, right? That'll be another point over the Defiant. Venture really strong with the Kitsune Rush, like the cooldowns of that. Also having another player who's able to go into the back, you know, flank around with the Venture. Always another good option, playing a little bit more aggressively.
Venture really benefits from like that haste buff in terms of their cooldowns being shortened, because it gives them much more like those vulnerability frames and also very impactful sort of displacement abilities. This is Deadeye from Merritt. Everyone Shikigami able to avoid it, but Lampent doesn't have enough time to benefit from the orbital ray whatsoever. And Sugar Free ends up bringing them down. Beautiful shots there from Merritt as well. They deal with the Brig, and it's another first fight that is so heavily in favor of Toronto Defiant. Shikigami feel like they're probably not even playing the same game.
No, this would have to be one of the, you know, we've seen some brutal losses in the history of just Overwatch esports. This one, look, it's not as consequential as some of the other brutal losses, but it definitely would suck, right? I mean, this is like an opportunity where for a lifetime Shikigami, like, oh my god, we're up 2-0, like maybe we can squeak something out against Toronto. We have a high seed going into the main event, and now all of a sudden, like, Toronto just laying it on.
Sondra needs a javelin here. Solo trying to go for a Terror Surge, but Sugar Free just completely ignorant to it. Throws up an ice block and avoids all of that damage. Despite a full charge from Solo, all that does is leave them exposed to the damage of Toronto Defiant. And yeah, another absolute one-sided engagement here. Shikigami can only really now leverage that Tectonic Shock and rally here from Graveyard. They're switching over to the Diva, likely just for mobility here. Yeah, they want to keep the game going if they can.
Yeah, I mean, especially Diva just to be able to play the game. No, Onion just going to come off the spawn. Now you've lost Lampent. This is, you're going to get maybe a touch. That would be quite questionable. We would have to check the PC if Merritt comes out with a kill there. But Solo not able to make it back, and that'll be Toronto. Just as fast as we went from 2-0 Shikigami, we are now just moving our way straight into Game 5. Yep. I mean, that is as fast of a two maps back-to-back as you're going to see.
Whiplash, but Whiplash that I expected. It's like I'm signing up for a carnival ride that's supposed to take me to like 10 Gs. Like, I kind of know what I'm getting into, but doesn't mean I'm necessarily ready for what the sensation entails. Very quickly, Toronto have taken this series over here. And again, they don't need map picks. They look like they're very confident on whichever arena they get taken to. They're definitely one of our quickest flashpoints there. It's about as quick as it possibly can, outside of a couple sort of flips and also late takes. It's about as quick as it gets.
There's not even really much, like, I mean, obviously Shikigami decided to pick that map. They probably felt pretty good about it, but, you know, playing that mirror now, you see the difference, right, with Sugar Free playing that May, like, able to constantly split off players there. On the side of Shikigami, they tried to play that a little bit earlier, Toronto, with Danny in, just did not look the same. Now though, I mean, this is a completely different beast. I mean, you almost throw out the first 2 maps, right? I mean, not even.
I mean, they're not relevant.
Not even watch the same game. Yeah.
I mean, if we're trying to gauge the relative strength of this team, the first 2 maps are completely irrelevant. I mean, the difference that Sugar Free is able to make, just how quality of a player they are, and also, how he fits into the general hierarchy and protocols of this Toronto Defiant team. It's really disruptive, obviously, to have 20% of your team, changed. So. Yeah, we should expect to see them close out the series from here pretty comfortably, unless Shikigami could have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever. I think that would take a lot from them here, and I don't think Toronto would give anything up for free anymore.
If you're Shikigami, what do you decide to do here? So you got push and clash. You need to steal a map, so to speak. Could you just take him to the new game mode and maybe just kind of sneak one out?
That's no way you're sneaking one out, bro.
Bro, like just an 8 KD. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna just play push? Just wait for the game to end? I mean, you gotta do something, change up a little bit.
I don't know. I mean,
why not?
So Clash is potentially a snowball. Is like a strong push map from these teams. Also, you can't. You can't go to Esperança, I think. It's just such a good map for the Winston Cops. I mean, God, someone has won world championships playing Winston on that map, right? Don't do that. Yeah, that was about as quick as that was real time.
Yeah, that was all of Gibraltar. We just watched Gibraltar again.
Yeah, you now have a diploma in the Toronto Defiant versus Shikigami on Gibraltar. It's that easy, folks. Put it on your LinkedIn. Hope it serves you well.
You were just stuck in a really tough place for Shikigami. I mean, I don't even know what I would be doing. I mean, I think I would go Clash just because with the way the game is going, if you're gonna lose a fight anyway and lose push, you may as well give your opportunity to okay, we win first fight, maybe we can snowball just because of the nature of ultimates. But
this is the point of the series where Matt locks widow and stops talking. That's what he would do. You just won't hear a word from this guy, but he's got you muted. He doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, this is the part of the series where you start looking at
Red Zone on the other screen.
Yeah, I mean, where you're like, oh man, what's going on in 30 minutes from now? What can I be doing? Because you feel like they're just in a really unfortunate position now as Toronto back at full strength. Obviously, they're feeling great.
But again, Shikigami aren't playing with Sideshow and Averall on their team. They have a full squad of very capable players, so they're probably not muting each other. Let's go to a break. We'll come back, of course, with our decider map on the other side.
I think I'm ready to go pro in Overwatch 2. Join 250 teams in Face It League Season 3. Compete in weekly officials organized around your schedule. Anyone can start their journey, rising through skill-balanced divisions and climbing to the top of the Face It League for cash and fame. Don't miss Season 3. Register before October 2nd. Let's do this, guys.
I mean, obviously, everyone feels like they're ready to go pro until Sugar Free gets into the server. I think Shikigami, as good as they are, honestly, this is a quality team that have recently really leveled up in terms of, like, who's on their squad, are now looking down the barrel of reverse sweep once Sugar Free has rejoined the game for Toronto.
Right. Yeah, it's tough because Shikigami, like, I really like what we saw from them early on, and I think that they will definitely make it out of this group, right? And I think a lot of other teams, they probably, I mean, look, even with down someone, they're still, you know, really strong, you know, top flight players, obviously, on the, you know, Toronto Defiant side, right? Without Sugar Free in the mix. That, you know, you still kind of have to give some credit to Shikigami, obviously, for winning those games, but, you know, obviously not as high in terms of the stock and being able to, like, beat a team like Toronto potentially at full strength. So Taejong will come back in here for our fifth and final map. They will go to Esperança. So this is one you can definitely play those Orisa base comps.
You definitely can. I mean, we used to see often like Orisa versus Winston, right? So it might just be Shikigami want to play the Orisa comp. They sort of back themselves up against the Winston, which is, you know, not guaranteed that Toronto will play. We've also seen someone be more than happy to match in that Orisa. It's just been a classic map for a number of different tank comps, actually. I will say Esperança has seen like Ramatra-based comps. We've even seen Reinhardt at times. Diva, of course, has made a way in here. It's a kind of map that's defined much more by just the general, you know, advantage of working that high ground outside of something that forces certain picks. But we are going to see Toronto hover that Winston comp to start with. It should be very comfortable for them. Allows Rupal to play that Ana as well, which is a big deal against Shikigami,
I mean,
who really want to get big healing numbers on their front line.
I mean, you give someone the option to play, you know, arguably, you know, one of two of his best heroes. Like, do you want to play Orisa? Do you want to play Winston? It's like, oh, well, you know, I feel like maybe a little bit of Winston today. We'll see. Maybe it's because Taejong's back in, right? Then, you know, he's probably going to be playing the Genji. That's what we saw him play throughout a lot of his time in the series thus far. That's why you start out with a Winston.
But I mean, I feel like Toronto Defiant, this is like their best look. You have every player on like their best hero. I think it's safe to say. Vega, I mean, we'll give them a pass because it's Juno, so doesn't matter if you like it, Vega, sorry. It's just too strong. Again,
As long as he can orbital ray.
that's it. Beam me up, Scotty, as often as you can. I have no complaints otherwise. So, Shikigami take up this position now, realizing they're playing against the Winston comp, which does need to respect the output and disruption of Orisa in an enemy front line. They are going to have to wrap around a little bit more here or try and be selective about how they start fights. The poke of Merit and the follow-up of Sugar Free and someone, it's kind of their bread and butter.
Yeah, I also think they're not exactly as worried of giving up a little bit of progress in terms of the bot early on. That's a nice play, though. They actually kind of catch Merit out a little bit. Solo with a nice spear. They'll actually trade hit scan.
Torpedoes there from Vega allow the 1-for-1 trade. Cassidy and Ash respectively falling here, but Taejong gets picked off. Rupal looks like they win that fight out against the Genji, who was trying to dive them. Likely a sleep dart involved there, I'd have to say. But that's pretty huge. If your Ana can handle the dive, you are going to be in a good place. Solo's about to have that armor stripped away, and then that Orisa becomes much easier to bring down. Anium, like Sugar Free respected there.
Think back to map 1 and 2, right? Instead of a Tracer with this exact lineup for Toronto Defiant, they were playing Tor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is much different vibe with the Tracer in the game.
Bionade there on Solo. Okay, Anium, she had the orbital ray available, but she just floated a little too far above the ground. It was easy pickings for Vega. And then, of course, Solo goes down after the fact. Brutal. And there was an orbital ray there from Anium.
Yeah. The orbital ray got popped. Like, I think coming down from the high ground probably actually just kind of hit the button and died as soon as, you know, trying to win to use that ult. And just not go off for Anium. That is a tough break for Shikigami, yeah.
Oh man, how do you come back from that? I mean, that's like your win condition here within a Orisa comp. You need
all
that
5 ultimates for Defiant.
Yeah, and they can really get through this checkpoint without spending too many of them at all. One or so. Here comes the mob first. Taejong trying to threaten Merit, but they've obviously let their ultimate go. And yeah, I mean, Shikigami had to fold back away from that orbital ray. They just cannot fight inside of it, so they're given their checkpoint entirely. Someone able to wrap back around and find Sunjun trying to pressure that high ground. Take down the Cassidy. And Toronto are looking very comfortable.
Yes, this is, I mean, as good as it can go here for the Defiant, because now you're going to have RuPaul with the nano boost here to drop onto someone. It's very difficult for Shikigami, right? They don't exactly want to move into that choke when you have an Ashe controlling the high ground over there. As Taejun trying to take a battle here against Sugar Free does not work out. Gotta be a big primal, yeah.
I mean, this will let you double back deal with Sunjun, who did try and steal the bot for a time. Someone can turn this into more. I don't think there's a fortifier available at all here for solo, so they are free solo. Except the movie went a little bit better than that.
I didn't see it, so
Well,
I won't
they didn't
comment
fall.
on if it
I'll
was
tell you
good.
that much. They didn't fall.
Okay.
Oy, oy, oy. All right, Toronto now getting up to triple digits here, and we know just how hard it is to
Nano
come back
too.
from that.
They don't even need to use the nano in that previous fight, right? Shikigami just having a lot of difficulties dealing with the pressure of someone as Sunjun gets quite low. You have Sugar Free here as well, trying to maybe finish off Cassidy is
Good trying to
Vega taking out Solo. Yeah, this is a pretty good trade set. These are favoring Shikigami.
Sunjun gets to run wild there. 3 final blows on the Cassidy. Stopping Toronto in their tracks, but we've only had 4 minutes elapsed on this Esperança map. I know, it feels like, you know, we've seen so much more of the map than we otherwise would have. But Toronto have that 105-meter total. Now we're coming back around, though, to Anion's orbital ray. Shikigami already in a priority position, or at least getting to that point, but they need to deal with the defensive high ground that Toronto get by default here.
It also feels like that Shikigami needs a fight win without expending both support ultimates, right? There's not really much of anything on the Toronto Defiant side to use, so this will be the orbital ray here for Mania.
Pulse.
Up on that high ground. Oh, and she gets hit with a pulse bomb.
Again, it's not burst healing from orbital ray, so Anion, I mean, she was dead either way. Taejong realizes, I think, that their goose was cooked there. And that was a fight in which you do spend the orbital ray and you don't get the win. The Shikigami have to lean now back on that rally. And Toronto are getting back around to their big ultimates. We saw them with 5 of them in that previous fight, and it gave them like 45 meters of progress. So I'd be concerned.
And the Juno ult is so strong, it feels like you absolutely need to win the fights that you use with it. I don't think they're tricked. Yeah, they know that they're there around the corner, so I think Shikigami thought they were being a bit sneaky there, Graveyard and Solo, but it seemed like Toronto, they knew exactly where those players were. The ping from someone where I'm with his POV right in that spot, knew exactly where they were at. So now Toronto will back up, take some of that high ground. This will be a Bob to kick things off.
Yeah, the flank of Sunjun. Oh my goodness, Sugar Free doesn't expect to run into that. Nicely done for Sunjun. Someone can't really help his team to too much more and just get that one final blow. The Bob gets brought down. Merit able to buy a little bit of time with that, but that bio doesn't really hit the way that Toronto would have liked it to. Shikigami with across the rally. Graveyard rallies while they're bionated. It's an easy kill for someone who now has primal. Oh, that is disastrous.
And you have the nano boost to use here as well. You're gonna lose both supports here for Shikigami. Terra Surge kind of looks like maybe like booped out of the way or just jumped and kind of like Solo went off on the side with it. As man, going from bad to worse here for Shikigami. Quite unfortunate. Feels like all the momentum as soon as Sugar Free got back swung into the Defiant's favor, and now you're seeing it carry over into the gameplay.
Again, there's no support ultimate value for Shikigami. First, Anion hits an orbital rate. She still dies inside of it because she gets stuck by Sugar Free. Graveyard pops rally, but under the effects of Bionade, so gives like 1 second of healing to their team, and then they get eliminated as well. You need more than that. Toronto here have a nano boost for someone, but first probably dive in with a primal. Interrupt this Deadeye for Sunjun, who gets clear of the Winston and can bring Vega down. I love this, I guess, audacious Cassidy play from Sunjun. They've got some great mechanics to back up the attitude. But it's going to take a heck of a lot more than that. An alley-oop. That would have been the bio claiming the kill, if not Sugar Free running Graveyard down. RuPaul does get caught out by the Junker Queen, of all things. And Solo now needs to find a way to get control of the bot.
Yeah, it's a queen swap from Solo, and looks like Solo gets taken on the opposite side of the map. You don't have a tank here for Toronto. You end up losing someone. Doesn't exactly just want to use the primal.
Sunjun plays aggressive there. Gets the Suzu, though, from Graveyard. Able to stay alive despite being hit with the dynamite explosion. Okay, Vega. Yeah, all right. No, I get it. Yep, that's an orbital ray.
Escort.
Like that. It's moving the card. Love to see it. Not really something Toronto can make use of because they are diving. It can be a little bit hard to line the Juno ultimate up with a Winston composition. Okay, here comes the orbital ray once again. Yeah, she's not around to see the result of it. Still, the rest of Shikigami can make some use of it, and someone is diving inside of it. That's brazen. Again, with Primal Rage, though, Still a bit scary to deal with the Queen. It's not really where Winston wants to find himself, so someone just finds himself elsewhere. In Sunjin's vicinity. Able to take the Cassidy down here.
Solo just stuck in a really interesting spot, right? There's like the tank behind him. He's trying to like maybe isolate some of the supports, right? We saw Vega and RuPaul back towards this side where Vega not able to get towards someone, RuPaul not able to get line of sight. Big bio yet again here from RuPaul. But it feels like, Mitch, every time Shikigami gets control, they get it back to their bridge, and that's about it. Toronto giving them no space to breathe.
Toronto have been saving those ultimates as well. So they still have this nano boost. RuPaul, I think, has been holding onto this for a hot minute now.
Yeah, it feels like a while.
Okay. I mean, Solo, yeah, no way they're surviving that one. They were burning down because of the Ash damage, and then a Pulse Bomb had them at 1. A little bit of extra tick would have done the job. Okay, this is now scary for Shikigami. They're gonna likely give up a bit of progress here, especially because Sunjin finds himself in a really compromising position.
Yeah, they're running out of progress to give up. That's the problem. They give up a little bit of progress. I mean,
it's true.
Give up a little bit of progress, we're going to a loading screen.
Yeah, I mean they're back in the Bronze Age already. I mean, like, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, they can afford to give up a little bit of progress.
It's like Age of Empires in reverse. There's a recall from Taejong though. Good pressure on towards RuPaul, and of course Solo's able to finish that off with the axe swing. However, 134 and counting now inside the last minute of this map and this series entirely for Shikigami. And it's Solo trying to keep them afloat here, but Taejong can't really get into the fight. They're being controlled, they're being handled by Sugar Free for the most part, and now everyone can turn and look at the Junker Queen. Taejong attempted a Pulse Bomb stick there, looks like that got nothing, and Solo being down. I guess all they can really hang their hat on was that they bought a little bit of time to stop a potential full cap, but even that now is under question. Sugar Free's built, get another Pulse. But Toronto know they don't mean to go for the bragging rights. They need to chill here for half a minute.
Well, they're not going to go for it just yet. It looks like they're going to wait for a few players here to come back off a spawn. Toronto's still with this nano. Orbital Ray is well here going into the spawn of Shikigami. It'll be the nano here onto someone. It'll track down Sunjin. So they do take out Merit. I don't think that's going to be enough, though, to hold.
Okay. Solo trying to keep this one contested here. Vega a little bit low. Orbital Ray coming out from Anium this time. It's actually pretty darn good. Someone's got to respect it. Back away. Now leaves things in overtime, and Sugar Free doesn't escape due to the hindrance of Sunjin's grenade. So Toronto will need to regroup. Some players, though, are too far forward, like RuPaul, staggered out. Someone also chased down. Shikigami have a veritable Everest, now to scale.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for Shikigami, right? With how Toronto's played on the, let's say, call more defensive side of things, right? When Shikigami's moving the bot into Toronto territory, Toronto's been great as they're going to have to obviously dodge these RuPaul antis. You do have the cleanse now with Graveyard playing the Kiri. So we'll see Toronto try and take hold of the high ground, but that's Solo combining with Onigun, picking up Merit.
Merit, obviously. Probably not where you want to be in striking distance of that Ash. Looks like Toronto thought they could take up that high ground spot, Matt, and found themselves a little exposed.
Yeah, how do you get it through? You're even going to have the checkpoint stop here for Shikigami as well. How do you get it through this part of the map? Someone takes control of the cart below, and there goes your Tracer.
Solo here. Going to be living up to their name, I think, at this rate, because Toronto want to avoid the Junker Queen at all costs until they are the last person on the field, which is, well, Tap's watch. Right about now, Toronto Defiant finish things off here on Esperança. A commanding lead, a dominant finish, and a reverse sweep. The trifecta as Sugar Free comes in, still undefeated in maps here in OWCS group stages.
Yeah, I mean, look, Toronto obviously at full strength, a fantastic team. They displayed that. I think Shikigami, a lot of things that you like about them potentially making out of the group.
Oh, yeah.
But once they were at full strength, Toronto, this was not close.
Yeah, it was pretty quick, question mark, I guess.
How long are we keeping it for?
Pretty quick.
No, I'm talking about when Toronto actually showed up and
almost
actually played the
Sunday.
game. It was the last 3 maps were pretty quick. I was talking about, sure,
Yeah.
the whole duration was pretty long, but hey, let's talk about this match. I think, I think one of the biggest surprise for me was Shikigami. I think with Sunjin and Taejong in the lineup, I think the first 2 maps, they look great. Of course, I think, Toronto Defiant, of course, didn't have Lenny in there, but at the same time, credit where credit's due, they were the stronger team in the first 2 maps.
Well, yeah, but the comps that Toronto wants to play, a lot of it is predicated on someone and Sugar Free kind of working together, where there'd be like Winston dive with a Tracer, whether it be a Risa with a Mei, trying to split players off. So to not have that second piece, Toronto is like one of the teams that doesn't really have any subs, right? I mean, that's why Danny's in the game. So they don't have any subs. They've been playing with this lineup the entire year. And I mean, to not have that player in, it's got to be pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I think that, I think this illustrates obviously just how important an individual like Sugar Free is. But you could say that of this entire team, and I'm just saying it could have been a lot worse. And they might have had to have Caceres play, right? So I just want to, we were spared from that at the very least here.
It could have been our Danny. It could have been our Danny.
Yeah, it could have been me.
I mean, Blue, Commander
That
Rex
would have been already over if I was in.
Could have seen, Mr. Hardy come in there and throw down again. But look, Danny, listen, I mean, it's a tough job. You are often told to play heroes that are more like reactive, try to mitigate opposing superstars outside of being, expected to be one yourself there. But it's in 5v5 especially, it's like that one player just makes a world of difference, Danny.
Yeah, Sugar Free's also over the last, pretty much since EWC, he's been playing like on another level as well for the Defiant, right? So there's also, I think, a difference between, having a player, that's not able to make it for a game or two, right, and replacing them, and then just replacing the output from Sugar Free over the last, X amount of months. He's a player of the match, right? He's got to be, right? I mean, he was crushing.
This was from the last three maps of the match, and also, like you said, this guy just built different. Like Mitch, you both Mitch and Matt, you guys are both saying, the difference of just having one player out and then coming back in. It's just night and day different for a team.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to also identify what Sugar Free's role is in this roster, because he's often playing the flanking heroes. So first of all, Toronto win a lot of cheap fights from really great pulse bomb sticks. Think like Onion, she's using an orbital ray on that Esperança map. She gets taken down by pulse bomb. That's huge. But also when you have the dichotomy of the Ashen Tracer, quite often the Tracer wants to capitalize on a dynamite hit, right? She runs into the backline. The Tracer puts that extra pressure down after the heal pressure of the dynamite, and usually you can one-clip people when they're at half HP. So it's a 1-2 punch that also works with the Winston as well. The Winston Tracer get there, you can follow it up. When you don't have that, you're asking Merit to solo kill everyone, which on Ashe is not easy, especially with how much healing is in the game because of Juno. So you really need Sugar Free as part of that. And that's maybe why Vega was, trying to push that Iliari so much. It's okay, I'm going to try and add some damage here, just try and make me and Merit try and combine to get some kills. And it was okay on Blizzard World.
Yeah. I feel definitely. I think Toronto Defiant definitely proving to everyone that they are one of the strongest teams in NA. And guys, that is only the first match of the day. We have two more, but before we move on, let's take a look at Group A brackets. Of course, Toronto Defiant getting the win. We'll be moving up, and it's the decider match is going to be Shikigami versus whoever wins, YFP versus Tanuki. Yeah, YFP and Tanuki.
And it may not look like it after the last three maps we saw, but I definitely would favor Shikigami over both those teams. I think they have a fantastic chance to make it out of this group. They were impressive. They've obviously already beat one of the teams 3-0, so you get a rematch, feeling good there. YFP feels like that's an opponent they can beat. I expect to see Shikigami at the main event.
That'd be cool.
Me too.
Same. All right, everybody, also be sure to check out the massive Overwatch League inventory sale that's going on in game right now. Oh my god, Overwatch League. I love Overwatch League. Starting on October 2nd, the Overwatch League Legends Mega Bundle will be available, which comes with All-Star Tracer, All-Star Genji, Zen Nakji Zenyara. That is a throwback.
That's a classic. That was one of that's one of the sickest
first ones. Yeah,
they made that obviously to honor the MVP of that particular year of the Overwatch League. That was a custom that eventually stopped, but pretty awesome to see those skins just to sort of commemorate some great individuals in our league.
Zen Nakji. I think I have that one.
Yeah, Octo, bro.
Well, if you don't, you can buy it.
Yeah, you can buy it.
So
there you go. Matt, thank you. Yeah, everyone, if you don't have it, now's the chance. Get your favorite skins from Overwatch League and use them in game. You're gonna look cool. All right, that's it, everybody. We're moving into second match of the day. It's going to be NRG versus Fluffy Dreamland. Come in right after the break.